This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm joined today by winemaker Matt Sutherland, who's joining us from Marlborough, New Zealand. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, I'm great. Very, very well, thank you. It's had my cup of coffee, so I'm not feeling too bad.
And what's the time for you right now?
Well, if I look at my clock right now, it's 9 o'clock in the morning on
9 o'clock, and
Tuesday.
a bit early to be cracking open the wine, I suppose, but I was thinking
That's
about
right.
doing it
Yeah.
myself. So,
It's been done, but
oh yes, yeah. How are things for you over in New Zealand right now? The 2020 harvest, I'm sure, is one that you will not forget. How did your harvest pan out? What with the pandemic and the like?
yeah, look, it was challenging. We look, it's a funny one. We had about 3 or 4 days left in Pinot Noir picking
Right.
to go before, when we got the announcement, and the original sort of communication from the Prime Minister and I guess from government was essential services can continue to
Yeah.
operate, but everything else is going to be shut down. But we didn't really know if we were essential or not, you see. So there was a day or two there trying to work out whether we could actually operate or not. So there was a bit of anxiety, and particularly for the region and for the industry, because it's not like we can go and open the shop front,
Yeah.
when this is done. We've got one chance to pick, and then if we don't get it, then we're in trouble. So during that period, there were people that were going, hammer and tongs picking as much as possible, and then there was those that were, I guess we're a little bit more hopeful that we could pick. So you take a little bit of a punt, to be fair, but look, we got all our hill blocks off, and we were lucky to do that, because we've got a lot of sort of more hill country, which is all hand pick, and Dog Point's all hand picked. So the other thing was, do we have the labour to be able to
Yeah.
actually get it all off? So we handpicked everything, and we'd previously put in a bit of a I'd probably a week prior just done a bit of what I call it a crisis plan, for lack of a better word. But what are we going to do if we get the worst possible scenario? So the pleasing thing is that we actually had a plan for something that we were hoping wasn't going to happen, but it did, and so we just initiated that, and we got all the Pinot off in the 3 days we had, and then when everything locked down, we could continue to operate, but we were only allowed to use essential staff. So we had to send pretty much everyone home, except for, say, 12 key people. Everyone lived on site, so everyone was away from their families, and they weren't allowed to leave the property. The winery team wasn't allowed in the vineyard, and the vineyard team wasn't allowed in the winery. So there's this sort of logistical thing going on. And look, there was a lot of places that weren't allowed to continue to operate. So we were in a privileged position, so we needed to make sure that we were doing it the right way, out of respect for those that weren't able to.
Yeah, I understand. And speaking to the fruit itself, is it a good harvest?
Well, that's the funny thing. It's one of the best ones we've seen. I know sometimes you hear people say this is one of the best vintages ever, but not pulling the wool over your eyes. It's actually been a pretty amazing year, and we probably haven't talked much about it because of everything else that's been going on. But it's that's the one thing we're incredibly fortunate about, because if we had weather pressure, it would have just thrown another sort of, I guess, headache in the mix, and it would have been incredibly challenging. So what we were able to do with a smaller team is pick, I guess, we didn't have to rush out and pick things, or, rain's coming, so let's get it off. We could pick in a timely fashion, and actually everything got plenty of hang time, and then we just slowly moved around according to what block was ready. So it was one of those years we made the most of the season, and we got great concentration in flavors, and everyone was able. We were actually more efficient, ironically, as a result. But I think had it been similar to 2017 or 18 for different reasons, it would have been even more challenging. So thankfully, the weather gods were in our favour.
Nice, nice, nice. Now you converted, or you began your conversion over to organic viticulture back in 2009. How is that working out for you today? You're one of the largest practitioners of organic viticulture in Marlborough, right?
Yeah, well, we're actually the largest certified organic vineyard in New Zealand. So it's
Okay, all right.
we and that, I mean, we need to put that into context. I mean, we only keep about 25% of what we grow for dog point in terms of what goes into the wine. So we only
Right.
make 4 wines. We're quite tight, quite focused. So 75% is actually sold to third party or as contract for it to other wineries. So we're only a smaller winery. We don't have the infrastructure here to handle that much, and we don't want to be a big winery. So we just want to keep that focus. But what we've found is, it was all about sort of vine health and quality when we started this, and the environmental factor, of course, is always in the back of our minds, and but first and foremost was about wine quality, and we felt that under organics we were going to be making better wine. And so you have soil health, you've got good soil health, you have good vine health, you have good vine health, you have good fruit, and if you have good fruit you have a better chance of making good wine. So it's quite a simple theory, but what we've found, you often get vines that devigor or struggle a little bit through that conversion process as they're getting used to operating under an organic regime, but then you give them a bit of time and they bounce back. And, sometimes when we do have weather pressure or disease pressure, the organic ones can hold on a lot better because they've almost built their own sort of immune system, if you will. And we're understanding how we're still learning, but we're 100% certified organic now. And Section 94 and Chardonnay in 2012 was certifiable, but the Sauvignon and Pinot Noir was certifiable from 2016. So we just decided, we'd put that on the label from 2016, but that's under New Zealand BioGrow, which is not necessarily compliant in Canada.
Yes.
So it's just slightly different ruling for North America, but everywhere else it's But the main thing is really it comes down to the vineyards, and they're all grown under a organic regime.
What was it that gave you that epiphany when you decided that organic viticulture was the way to go at Dog Point?
Well, it was my father that sort of said to our viticulturist at the time, we're having this conversation, and he said, what's going to take? And look, he's a pioneer in this region, and he started in viticulture in the late 70s. He's fourth generation in Marlborough. I'm fifth, and he used to be in farming and evaluation and property management and in the rural sector for a long time. So he's seen the region develop over many years, and I think he was seeing where things were going, and it's probably just a bit of foresight, really, and also what he believes in. Fundamentally you've got to believe in what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're doing it just for dollars and cents, then it doesn't. It's not the right I guess backbone for making those sort of changes. You've got to believe in what you're doing, and he felt that we needed to be doing better, and I think in 2009 he said to our viticulturalist, and bearing in mind he's a viticulturalist as well, but we have someone working under him who's very talented as well, Nigel Simon. But he said to Nigel, what do you think it'll take to start converting to organics? And the answer was not a huge amount, because we weren't, when we talk about conventional, we weren't extreme anyway. We were but the one thing we did do is converted everything at once. We didn't just do one block as a trial. We did all of it. So it was 150 hectares in one go, bang. And what that does do is it just makes everything the norm. You know, it's not a plot on the side that you got to attend to, or, you know, sometimes you can forget about. When you go in, you're committed, and everything is about, it's the core of your business. So you've got to make sure that you do it properly. So that's the one thing I think that, you know, it's a risk, but in hindsight, I think was the right thing to do, because you know, you give that focus to the cause, really.
Yeah, I'm always curious when people do that organic conversion. Do you try to convince your neighbors to go through the same thing?
No, well, there's certain boundaries with sprays and things like that. Things about 8 meters between
Right.
for canopy sprays. So, you know, we did. I think as things have gone on, we didn't really need to do much of that. And actually, New Zealand, yeah, sustainability. So New Zealand Wine Growers has a sustainability program, and a lot of the, I guess, most of New Zealand wineries and grape growers are on that program. So everything's heading in the right direction. And so I don't think there's a real buy-in to organics and biodynamic farming, and that number's growing constantly throughout the country. And I think it's probably not, you know, when we started going, it wasn't a trend really in the marketplace, you know. So it only has sort of gone that way, say in particularly the last 5 years. But I think now people are realizing that, you know, provenance and how it's grown, and you know, and the health side of things as well is people's health is hugely important, and people want to know what's in that bottle of wine, or what's in that food that they're eating. So we have to be more transparent about that sort of thing, and I think it just puts the onus on growers and producers to start thinking about that a bit more.